Hello, my name is Joe Vasta, and today we are going to talk about Daniel's 70 weeks. This is found in the Old Testament of the Bible, and we're going to see some math mixed with this. So, let's start off with this first fact. In 2011, Cambridge physicist Sir Colin Humphreys, working with Oxford astrophysicist Graham Waddington, calculated that Jesus died on April 3rd, 33 AD. Before this, most were split between 33 AD and 30 AD. And the book you can read about, or read, so you can figure out these things, it's great. It's called The Mystery of the Last Supper, and I would highly recommend this to anybody to read. It talks about the lost day of Jesus during Passion Week. Was the Last Supper a Passover meal, like it is written in Mark, Matthew, and Luke, or was it held before the Passover like it was written in John? There was no time for the trials of Jesus. Well, what's up with that? And then another mystery of the Last Supper was the legality of the trials. The capital cases needed to be done at daytime. So if you're interested, it's a really good read. So let's get to the prophet Daniel. The prophet Daniel, we'll see in 705 BC, Daniel is taken captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. He was a young man, maybe a teenager. In 586 BC, Jerusalem is destroyed. And notice the dates go down because this is the BCs. Okay. In 539 BC, the Persian Empire conquers the Babylonian Empire, and Daniel is still in exile, but now under the Persians. And that's when this lion story happened. And as much as it would be fun to get into this part of Daniel's life, I want to go to Daniel chapter 9. So in Daniel chapter 9, Daniel sees an angel called Gabriel, and Gabriel says, 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks plus 62 weeks. And after the 62 weeks, Messiah shall be cut off, but not for himself. So, wow. 7 plus 62 does not equal 70. If you keep reading, it will describe one more week. So let's talk about what this really means. First of all, Messiah is the expected deliverer of the Jewish people. There is much controversy and disagreement concerning the interpretation of this prophecy, but in my opinion, what I'm about to offer, is the best interpretation. We're going to go ahead and explain this 69 weeks, okay? And that's actually happened in the past, okay, that are past. This 1 week, well, this is a different issue, and I'm going to claim that that's something in our future. Now, all 70 of these weeks were in Daniel's future. So let's go ahead and take a look at some numbers. 7 plus 62 is 69. 69 weeks. Okay, before we get into that word weeks, we see that 1 decade is 10 consecutive years. 1 week, well, week is the translation of the Hebrew word for 7. What it means is 7 consecutive years. And if you study the Old Testament, you see that years were often grouped in sevens. Okay, let's see what 1 year is. 1 year is approximately 365 days. Well, we can get a little more precise and put on 5 hours, 48 minutes, 45 seconds. So if you do this on a calculator, you end up getting 365.24219, and this is an approximation, days. We're going to refer to this as a solar year. Now, because it's a little above 365 days, this would explain why we have leap years. Let's go a little into leap years using Venn diagrams. Well, the Julian calendar looks like this. Okay, and a year is a leap year if it's divisible by 4. Okay, so like you might have 2001 right there. Okay, this is a Venn diagram, and then the year 2020 is in here. It's in the gray circle. The gray circle represents the leap years, and so this is probably how most of us were told in grade school what a leap year was. And they were kind of telling the truth. They probably didn't want to confuse us with what I'm about to tell you. But 1/4 of the years have a February 29th with this Julian calendar. A Julian year is 365.25 days. This was instituted by Julius Caesar around 46 BC. He declared that year to have 2 extra months, making the year 445 days long, to put January back into its correct position. Now, we don't use the Julian calendar. We use something called the Gregorian calendar. There's the Gregorian calendar, and the shaded part represents the leap years. So what do we have? So there's, leap years are right there in that disk, and then they're also in the middle. So the Gregorian year is 365.2425 days, and a year is a leap year if it's divisible by 4. But there is an exception. If the year is divisible by 100, it is not a leap year. But there is an exception to the exception. If the year is divisible by 400, then it is a leap year, and this makes the calendar a little more precise. So for instance, let's put some years into our Venn diagram. 1991, 2015, 2017. Those are not even divisible by 4. Those are not leap years. 1984, 2016, those are divisible by 4, but not divisible by 100, so they fall in that disk that is shaded. Those are leap years. The year 1900, the year 2100, those are also divisible by 100, but not divisible by 400. So they fall under the little disk that is not shaded. Those are not leap years. And then finally, the year 2000, the year 2400, those are leap years. They are divisible by 400, and then also they're divisible by 100, divisible by 4. Thus the Venn diagram. Why is it called the Gregorian calendar? Because in 1582, Pope Gregory XIII left 10 days out of October in Spain and Poland. So it went October 4th and then October 15th, but keeping the same sequence of the days of the week. So it wasn't really Pope Gregory that came up with this. It was an Italian doctor, Lilius, who proposed this. Sweden opted to remove the 10 days gradually over 40 years, and the British Empire, including America, changed in 1752. The Gregorian year will not fall one day behind until after 3700. So the reason they had to change from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar is they saw that the calendar was 10 days off. And that kind of makes sense, because the Julian calendar, it wasn't precise, but it was good enough for many years. So let's move on to Daniel's 69 weeks. So 69 weeks. 1 week is 7 years, and 1 year is 365.24219 days. That's a solar year. And 1 Jewish year is 360 days. So this part used to perplex me. What? Okay, so I'm going to tell you something that might freak you out. From the 15th to the 8th centuries BC, people used a 360-day year. So some had 12 30-day months, and some countries had 18 20-day months. So all nations of antiquity used 360 days, and there's a list of them right there. You want to find out more about this, you can read Velikovsky's Worlds in Collision. It was a controversial book when it came out in 1950. And he actually has recorded catastrophes around the world and documentations of these people using the 360-day year. And notice they're all over the place. The Chinese, the Egyptians, it's all over the globe. Why were they using 360-day years? And some of you might think, oh, well, that's just because they were stupid or whatever. But I mean, don't you think they would have noticed after like 20 years that it was kind of off? And so Velikovsky says around the 8th century BC, some catastrophe happened. And it really was a 360-day year, and then it went to what it is now. Okay, if you're still kind of going, wow, this is weird, this is not in the Bible, but it is recorded in this book here. Another thing is, how many degrees do we have in a circle? 360. Now, why would that be? I was told because a lot of numbers go into 360, but why not 100 or 400? It's because it's based on them using a 360-day year where the planet would travel 1 degree in 1 day. So let's get back to our 69 weeks. 69 weeks. 1 week is 7 years. 1 Jewish year is 360 days. We multiply that together. 69 times 7 times 360. We get 173,880 days. So the 6th century goes from 600 BC through 501 BC. Daniel 9 contains a prediction about the future. It counts the time between 2 events. The event of the command to rebuild Jerusalem and the Messiah being cut off. And it gives us 173,880 days. Well, on March 5th, 444 BC, or a little after, so we don't really think it was that day, but it was probably within a week or so, this guy named Artaxerxes issues a decree to rebuild Jerusalem, and this is found in Nehemiah 2. The prophecy or prediction that we read says the command to restore and build Jerusalem, not the command to rebuild just the temple. And so 3 other decrees to rebuild just the temple are found in Ezra. And that's where people get a little confused with interpreting this prophecy. So what we're going to do is we're going to count. Okay, so after March 6th, okay, so we start at March 5th, March 6th, and then March 7th, and we're going to count up to 173,880. Well, the problem with that is that's going to take a long time. I'm sure you're not going to want to see that. So what we want to do is we'll do some math instead. So March 5th, 444 BC plus 173,880 days. Since we have regular dates, we'll convert 173,880 into solar years. We do that by division, and we get 476.06767 years, or 476 years in 25 days. If you did this using the Gregorian year calculation, you would get exactly the same thing. If you did this using the Julian year calculation, and there's a good argument why maybe we should have done that, we'd get 476 years and 21 days. Now remember, we don't know exactly if it was March 6th or March 5th or March 8th when this decree went out. So we're kind of ballparking it with the exact day. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to ask you to go 10 BC plus 20 years. So if you've taken math classes, it probably reminds you of negative 10 plus 20, and you would say, oh, well, that's positive 10. But that's not the case. when they went ahead and implemented the ADs and BCs, there was no 0 year. It went from -1, or it went from 1 BC to 1 AD. So this is going to give us 11 AD. So March 5th, 444 BC plus 476 years. Well, we take the difference, and that's 32. But remember, there was no 0 year, so this is going to give us March 5th, 33 AD. And we add the 25 days to get March 30th, 33 AD. Now, what's so unique about that date? Well, a lot of scholars will say that is the date when Jesus triumphantly enters Jerusalem. And then there is that April 3rd, 33 AD, when Jesus was crucified. This week here is called Passion Week. That is when Christians will refer to Jesus as their Messiah. Jesus' Messiah was cut off. And so, wow. This math behind this, or enumeration, or counting, whatever you want to call it, is awesome. It's remarkable. It's a precise prediction. This is the backbone of all prophecies in the Bible. If this prophecy was not in the Bible, I would still be a Christian, because there's so many more prophecies in the Bible that came true. Just the prophecies in the Bible, and maybe you haven't been told this, predictions in the Bible, and then they end up coming true, are so convincing. No other religion offers this proof. Now, if some of you are wondering, well, what happened to that last week? That's a whole different issue, but I will tell you it really briefly in terms of my interpretation. So we have the timeline. We have the 6th century BC, that's when Daniel was written. And then you have the 69 weeks, which happened there. Well, then the prophetic stop clock stops. And so today is now. So we're not experiencing the 70 weeks. And the 70th week, a lot of great scholars will say, well, that's in the future. And that's 7 years, known as the Great Tribulation. So if you're interested in more math in the Bible, go check out my Math in the Bible video on YouTube. I think it's 2 hours long, and some of you might say, well, this was long enough. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you find it amazing that this could be in the Bible. There was a pretty accurate prediction. Have a good day.